part of OCHA. I don't know how well you know OCHA yet, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. So part of the UN Secretariat that's focused on coordinating disaster response. And OCHA has 5 pillars or focus areas: policy, advocacy, coordination, financing, and information management. So under information management is where we come in. And so it's really trying to aggregate or bring together data from all the different partners in a response operation to then try and make sense of what's going on, understanding the needs and the response and the gaps. So that's always been a struggle, to be honest. I've been with OCHA over 10 years. The work, I think about 5 years ago, was when we started the Humanitarian Data Exchange platform, HDX. And so before that, you can imagine, when people were looking for data in wherever they were in the world, they would have to know somebody in Yemen, or they'd have to say, does somebody know how to get this data? Or it would be on some, Google Drive, and then people would get access to it. It was just a mess. So that's why we created HDX, was to solve the problem of just not being able to find data, and when you did find it, not knowing who it came from or whether you could trust it. So over the years, those 5 years now, 2014, we've really seen a lot of traction with the platform. So as you saw with this report we just put out yesterday, the state of open humanitarian data, the platform has kind of exploded with a lot of data, but it's been, a little bit of a double-edged sword, because it's like, well, what's the really important critical data within all of that data? And so that's where we came up with this feature called the data grid, which puts the data into different categories. So 6 broad categories of, let's say, affected people and geography and health and education, food security, etc. And then a lot of subcategories to then say, if we look at that, do we have the data we need? And so that big finding was that we basically have about 50% of what's needed, and now we need to do the advocacy to fill those gaps. So that's why I think that report is helpful, because we can be more targeted in our advocacy. When you have a platform of 17,000 data sets, people think, oh, well, you must have everything you need. But, we don't.
But the data keeps evolving, right? Because what you have as data from last year, in order to this data to be useful and actionable, you need to have some way of using it, like for policymakers, for instance, or for when you're looking for funding, right, from donors. What is the use of the data? Because one thing is to put somewhere, but what do you do with it in terms of actionable things, right?
Yeah. Well, one is that the data isn't necessarily from last year. One of the ways, the criteria that we use to assess the data is timeliness. So is it the most updated version? And that could be it's from last week, or it's from a couple months ago.
The platform allows you to update almost live. All the time. Okay, so it's not like data sets for historical review and comparison.
No. I mean, there's some statistical data sets that do look at historical time series over many years, but that's not the data that we're prioritizing, right? So it's more the number of refugees or the number of displaced people, their location.
I see. And you bring out these data sets so you can actually really discover if the numbers are right, are the real numbers, or approximate enough, with a combination of data from government agencies and the UN agencies?
Yeah, there's a couple hundred organizations that share data on the platform, but the ones that are included in this sort of core data, let's call it, there's about 28 organizations that are providing kind of high priority crisis data. UNHCR, WFP, WHO, UNICEF, and a bunch of others. So yeah, I think there's all those challenges and maintenance and making sure that we have those strong partnerships and that those are maintained. It's not just a dumping platform, that people are taking responsibility for the data on there and
they're cleaning the data and there are
Yeah.
dedicated teams within each organization doing that, I imagine.
Yes, exactly.
So it's an ongoing project. It's not just something,
Right.
well, let's do one report and show it can be done. But it's something that's ongoing because of course, clearly the benefits with machine learning is that you'd be able to do some predictions also in terms of needs, right? Foresee the next 3 months or so if you find out like 700 million people just moved from one place to another, 700,000 people were displaced and now they are in Bangladesh and you can make some predictions in terms of the needs, the funding needs, right? I think that's the reason why this data will be quite useful for donors.
Yeah, exactly. And not just donors, the response, groups that are in the country, the whole system. So in terms of use, I mean, let's say there's 17,000 data sets on the platform, and every month we have about 150,000 downloads of that data. So massive amounts of data going out the door. And that traditionally has been our role, that we just bring the data together, we make sure there's some quality assurance around it, we manage the relationships with the contributors, and we make the data accessible. Now, the center was created because we saw that wasn't going to solve all of the problems, right? That we basically, there's a capacity issue, so people aren't data literate. Everyone knows how to use data. So if you have all this data, and people can't use it, then what's the point? The other is data policy. So really seeing that data can be dangerous when it's exposed, if it has personal information in it or
right. That's another issue that I'm sure will crop up as you move along, right? I mean, you've been already operational for 5 years, you said. I'm sure these issues you have been paying attention to those issues, but as we know, there is an increase in attacks of this sort in humanitarian agencies themselves or organizations, departments such as yours too, that need to be. So what are some of the challenges too in terms of securing the data?
Well, for one is that mostly this is an open data platform. So we're not like UNHCR or UNICEF where we are holding personal beneficiary lists or, that's not OCHA's job. We're not directly managing beneficiary or the data about affected people. So that makes it less risky. But what we find even with an open data platform is that there is what we call sensitive data that even though it doesn't include personal attributes like names or numbers, that if you do more sophisticated analysis, there can be a high risk of re-identification of people. So we see this with survey data that's shared. So the needs assessment of a certain population in a camp or, doesn't have their names. But if you do this analysis, you can see, well, there's, we know there's only one disabled person in this location that's a woman. So it has to be this person. And that kind of re-identification is also dangerous. So what we're doing now with support from the European Commission, from ECHO, is putting in a secure piece of infrastructure within the HDX platform that is basically an algorithm that we can run that will identify risk in data sets. So that data isn't mistakenly exposed. It will catch it before it kind of is made public. And that's hard because you can
Right,
You can
because
have a
this type of vulnerabilities, they keep changing too over time. The
sure,
hackers are
yeah,
always looking for vulnerabilities, and
yeah,
your job is constantly to be trying to do things in a way that you are catching up or preventing or anticipating. Well, anticipation is not always possible, but that you
yeah.
are, and certainly there is some issues regarding funding, because that's an important part. Up to now, I think a lot of organizations weren't aware of how important the cybersecurity aspect is in protecting their data. Well, not only because now we have the GDPR and so on in California, where it's moving more on the consumer side, but we have more, the discussion is on the table, and vulnerabilities are being disclosed to both by government agencies and private sector actors that understand the importance of sharing those vulnerabilities and sharing and protecting the data, right?
Right.
Because as you're saying, it's not just that they can target one person, but they could target an operation too. If there are rogue actors who are interested in wreaking havoc in a humanitarian operation, if they have enough data, they can say, oh, this is how we're going to use, in terms of messing with the data itself, but also in interfering with operations. Isn't there a risk there?
Yeah, and we don't get involved too much in, like this cybersecurity or hacking. I mean, what we're, just to remember that HDX, the platform that we manage, is an open data platform. So the default is that once you get ready to share it onto the platform, it's meant to be open data. It's not meant to be risky data with names of beneficiaries. So just to be clear on that. But obviously, this risk of hacking and taking down the site and misuse of the data is still something that we want to be careful with. And we're seeing that more and more. And so just to say, in terms of the center, the reason that we created it was that we couldn't solve all these problems by just managing a platform. So we created the center to have these 4 work streams. One is around HDX. The second is around data policy. The third is around data literacy. So we do training on how to
Oh, I
use
see.
data.
Interesting.
And
Tell me a
then,
little bit about
yeah.
the training programs.
So that we have the first one that we did, well, we have, webinars, and we do workshops and all sorts of things in a small way. But last year we
To the
launched,
humanitarian agencies personnel,
yeah,
or
yes,
the
yeah,
dedicated teams that will be working with the data input
yes,
or the data sharing?
yes. I mean, we prioritize our direct partners that kind of share data or that we're working with in an
Right, of
operation.
course.
But last year, we had our first, what we call the Data Literacy Foundation program that we offered to OCHA staff, so within OCHA only. So we had 20 humanitarian affairs officers that work in the different country offices. We had about 20 of them come here, and it's a 3-month program. We do a week face-to-face here in The Hague, and then a couple months of remote training and mentoring. And so that just finished in December, and now there's obviously a lot of demand from different parts of the organization and partners to keep doing it. So yeah, that's, we're not focusing on technical people with that training. It's really the non-technical people. So we know that data managers and information managers are going to figure out how to use data, but it's really the policymakers, the decision makers that need to become a bit more adept at identifying data issues and asking the right questions, and not being afraid to use Excel and just kind of do these basic things. So that's a big thing. The data literacy workstream is really important. We're doing a lot of work on guidance with data responsibility within OCHA and with our partners. And then the final area is with data predictive analytics, which is our newest work stream. We just started late last year, and that is around modeling and really aligned with the kind of broader agenda you probably read about, which is on anticipatory action. So using models that can kind of catch a signal of need, whether that's food insecurity or displacement or a weather event, the impact of a weather event, and then having these kind of automated pre-agreed financing and pre-agreed plans that would be set in motion by this early signal of need. So all of that's quite new, and it's not fully operational yet. We're piloting.
This is within the last 12 months, you say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is really machine
really,
learning, as we say, right? It's like artificial intelligence, it's prediction, and of course the importance of the data being good, being clean, being the right data, so to speak, right? Is fundamental. So tell me a little bit, how does the corporation came about? How did you go about bringing the other agencies, to be willing to participate in sharing their data? Because in the beginning, people were a bit more guarded in terms of sharing data, but how did that come about?
Well, trust, to be honest. I mean, just slowly by building relationships to say, that we're here to help and to make things more efficient at the system level. And that we do that by working together and bringing this data together in one place, and giving all the credit to the partners that are sharing the data rather than, ourselves. So the big first organization that came on in 2014 was the World Food Program. And they shared their food prices data set, which was really significant. And in return, we offered to build a custom data visual that showed the data over time, and they could then embed that visual and use it in their platform or in their material. So there was always a return. It's not just sucking data from people, but really more about a relationship and a partnership and giving something in return. And then through that, building trust. And so people know now that, we're good actors. We want the best for the data. We're not going to misuse the data. And then that in turn creates more sharing and more demand. And that's what really allowed us to create the center, because if HDX hadn't worked, right, in those early years, we wouldn't have been able to kind of expand it into covering more work streams, and having it come under a broader initiative like the center. And then also just to maybe say and I know we don't have much more time, but it's on the way the system is funded, and our main funder here is the Netherlands Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And so they were very interested in data and innovation and saw that we were too. And so there was kind of alignment of vision and really wanting to solve some of this coming out of the World Humanitarian Summit that happened, it was in May 2016, that there was kind of a big push for new and innovative ideas. So we kind of rode that wave, to be honest, and that's where the center kind of, as an idea, got traction, got some funding. And now I think, we just had an evaluation with independent evaluation with Johns Hopkins that they did, and it was very positive. So now going into this next cycle, as of June, we'll have been up and running for 3 years, and putting together a plan for the next 3 years, and then taking that out and trying to get some funding for that, because we're project funded. So OCHA covers our staff costs and some of our other costs, but for the most part, we need to do a lot of fundraising. So I think, the challenge for us ahead is being able to really show the impact, and that's where that report, I think, can be helpful, just to see where we are with things, and then really try and compel the resources that we need to meet our ambition, which is quite large, but we don't necessarily have the funds that we need to do that just yet. But that's what we're working on now.
Right. So a combination of governments and the European Commission and private sector actors, perhaps, too.
And the humanitarian foundations. Yeah, we're having a conversation with the Rockefeller Foundation to provide some support. So yeah, there's definitely interest in data science for social impact and data and innovation and technology, and so it's a good space to be in, but it's still just a little bit uncertain as we go into our next phase to secure some of that.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I will edit the interview and then send you, if I have any more questions, I will contact you. But this is quite good. It gave me a very good overview because
Sure.
I had looked into it a little bit, but it's excellent. So it's exactly what we are looking to talk about.
Good. Well, sure. Well,
About
let
the
me know.
UN. So if I have any other questions, I will email you. But I think we have enough material with our conversation right now. Thank you so
Okay,
much,
great. No
Sarah.
problem. Have a good day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.